were peeking through the door. And I was like, this is disgusting. And that was like my first realization that I should always stay with my kid all the time, because life just isn't safe. You can't trust your so-called best friends, which are like family. Um, Not cool. So that was really sad. Not only did this guy, abuse my heart, but they stole my money and a whole bunch of it. And even a while later, I had talked to Linda and I said, well, I need my money back. I'm moving. And, I'm going to college in another state for engineering. And when am I going to get it? And because Linda was real easy to deal with. And she was like, well, you loaned it to Mike. I said, no, I didn't. I loaned it to you and I need my money. And I should have sued him. That's what I really should have done. That's a huge, huge, huge amount of money. And the $5K loan. I should have sued him and took the whole thing to court because the figures were wrong and everything else. And I know I didn't have crap out of that money. I wasn't drinking, wasn't doing drugs, and I had a brand new baby, and that was my daughter's money, And so, anyway, that's how I got really bad burn. And that there's some other situations like that, but that was probably one of the worst, of people abusing me, being a single parent, having money. And it's just sad how people will do that. And, I honestly, I don't care what you say, but I wish the worst on those people. Really, I do. They deserve the absolute worst for the horrible things they do. They took my daughter's money, and I was just a single parent. That was my money for my kid, to raise my kid with, for our life. And it's just a shame people will do that. And it's not the only time I got ripped off in my life, but it's one of them. And it's just like, I just can't trust folks. I started to learn pretty quick. It was bad enough in California, but it's like you just really can't trust anybody but yourself. You know what I mean? So years later, Roseanne hated my guts. I had been going through Tulsa. I went through there to work one year and called her up, thought I would go visit her because I happened to be in town working. And she said, sure, yeah, okay, we'll have lunch. And I went up to the office. I had to wait about an hour, and everybody looked at me mean, and she was kind of dry and wanted to take me to this very elegant place. And we went to go eat, and she was like the snake that hadn't bit. Mike had this description of her years ago. He said, well, I know your aunt all my life. He said, she's like the snake getting ready to hit. And I'm like, that's not nice. But that's exactly what she was. Very brilliant, very wealthy businesswoman. And she was an abstract and title, and she owned all the companies in several cities out in Wagner and Tulsa and Pryor. And another one that she had, too, that she owned. I mean, she literally owned the buildings, everything. And she bought a whole bank in Pryor. And that thing was just lined in marble. And she leased out an office to my former uncle that she was with for years. One of the biggest lawyers in Oklahoma, Ernest Brown, he passed away. He had pee cancer. And he passed away with pneumonia. He got sick from being around people and died. It was unfortunate. What a character he was. Gosh, he was such a character. And she was not with him for a lot of years, but when I was a kid, I'd flown out when I was 11 years old to visit her, and that was her guy at that time, and he was really a character. And so was my cousin John Cash Jr. But anyway, so we had that lunch or dinner, whatever it was, and then in the end of the meal, she had said some really nasty crap. It was like the closing line of the act. And she was like, I gave you that car and you trashed it. And I'm like, well, did you give it to me or did you not? And two, I had a guy, his name was such and such. He came by the house. He was going to put the top on it. I was going to put a new top, and then I was going to take it to Tulsa and even have it painted. before you even got it back, because I had already purchased another car. And, I wanted to give it back better than what I had got. And she didn't accept that at all. She just thought I was out lying, just cold-blooded lying. And then she talked some other crap about my personal life, which was stuff that came around from, I think, Mike and his wife, and maybe some of her employees, some of Roseanne's employees at the abstract office or something, because people love to talk there. It was very gossipy in Oklahoma, and a lot of those people can't see the sun for the clouds. It's just that way. That was one of the reasons that I left Oklahoma. One of the bigger reasons, other than going to fabulous college, was the people were just into all that drama, And I was very happy-go-lucky and had the coolest toy on the face of this earth, my little girl, and things were just, wonderful. And I was dating a wonderful, wonderful man that I understood that was divorced and everything, and it turned out he wasn't. Oh, Jesus, and I got my uncle involved to help with that and offered to pay for this so-called divorce that this guy was already supposed to be divorced. And I will tell you the crap that I guess I have fallen for in my life, and that was with Kelly O'Brien. Yeah. He was definitely like the bad car salesman. This guy lied so much, I found out years later, plus stole a lot of money from me, my college money, and my credit cards, and that's another fun story. But anyway, so it's really sad. I trusted those people so much, and they dirtied me so bad. And they even right before my Aunt Roseanne passed away, my father had gone out there several times to visit with her, and they had a blast and everything. He'd bring his girl Jeannie with him, and then I'd say, well, hey, I'll go out to Oklahoma. I'll drive out there and let's all get together. And all he goes, gosh, that sounds like a great idea. And then my dad would call me back later, and then he'd say, well, you probably better not. And I was like, well, I mean, it's no trouble, I've got the money, I've got the time, I can work while I'm out there, not a problem. And he says, no, actually, Roseanne really doesn't want you to come. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry if I've done anything wrong. And this is like years later. And I mean, years and years. And so apparently she just really had a thing out for me that I was a really bad person. And, it's kind of like going to court and not getting a chance to go to trial or speak your piece. And it was just like, judge, jury, decision. Boom. It was like I never had a chance to speak my piece totally. Because the last time I met with Roseanne, we had that dinner, and then she finished it with about 5 really gritty sentences and was absolutely refusing to listen to anything I said. And I'm like, those so-called people you turned me on to as friends and everything, and to work on the car, the guy was taking the car up there to work on and stuff, were not friends. And I usually didn't say anything unless somebody would bring something up, And so she brought them up, like, oh, you abused the Browns and all. I'm like, you've lost your mind. They stole a bunch of money. She's like, what money? And I'm like, I had a lawsuit in California that paid off after I got here. And I said, and they were hiding the money from me, and I only got a very small portion of that money. And never got the rest back. I paid for his tow truck because I refused to loan him money, but they took it anyway. And then he threatened to pick up my car and throw it in the Lake Hudson, if I ever asked him for any of the money. And I said, those are not friends. And I said, I can go into further detail, but I don't want to get into all that. Because I would call that rape, attempted rape or whatever, some of that other stuff. But I didn't even get to that part. And, so it was really sad, the people you think were friends and they really turned out not to be. And it was over, I guess, basically over a money thing. She resented the fact that I had money. And the first thing I thought of was, wow, I should probably offer to pay her back all that money stuff that she ever helped me out with or bought groceries for me and the baby and everything. And I could even pay her for the car and give her the car and all that stuff. She only paid $500 for it from a neighbor, Bob. Bob used to help do stuff on the house out there. And what a nice guy he was. It was his car. But, I mean, it was just way blown out of proportion. It was unfortunate because, I didn't even get a chance to really defend myself on that. Any of it. So, she died hating me, thinking I was a really bad person. And, I love everybody, and I mean no harm to anyone, but I will tell you what. You got about 3 chances to totally screw up with me, and I'm done with you. And I think 3 chances is a lot of chance. Really, I do. Because normally in my younger years, I would give you 1 chance and we're finished. I have no reason to deal with you, period, whatsoever. Done. Because you can't be trusted in my book. But people do make mistakes in life. I'm not perfect. Trust me, I ran around in circles till I was about 30, getting the same stupid problems. And just, I mean, I relied on older folks to help me through thinking things out the right way. I always respected older folks. And finally, I kind of learned it. I guess I really learned a lot when I left California. That's when I really learned a lot about people in life. And, I loved my life. I loved my little girl. It was better than a kitty cat or a puppy dog. I mean, children are tremendous. I used to always tell my cousin John, I say, you and your wife really need to have kids. He was like, oh, hell no, we don't want kids. That would ruin our life. And I'm like, well, it's not a life. It's something entirely different when you have children. It is the most precious thing in the world. It's shocking when you have one. You look at that and go, whoa, I made that. It's just amazing. They're just so much fun, so unpredictable. They're just the greatest thing in the world. I used to spend all my time waking my daughter up. She would be so peacefully sleeping, and I'd wake her up just so I could play with her. I guess she was just the coolest thing in the world. Just the neatest, And making little clothes for her, and all my kids wore bonnets and beautiful frilly dresses that I made, and the little lace sockies, and the little Mary Jane beautiful shoes, and beautiful haircuts that I did on them, and they were just the most beautiful things in the world. And I did photography with all my kids, pictures and pictures and pictures, And I even did an oil painting of one of my children that actually came out really, really well. Huge oil painting that I had for years. It was stolen in storage just not long ago here, just kind of recent. But anyway, so such is life. But yeah, it's amazing what money does to people. But I still am bothered with it today. I guess I should forget it. But I probably never will. Because I was young. I had a child. I was a single parent. Why would people steal from me like that? That was a ton of money back in the day, And I mean, just why would you do that? I was busy working, taking care of my kid, doing wonderful, great things, following my dreams. And I really didn't even have to do all that with all that money. I could have hung out for a while and not worked at all. But people just stole it from me. So, I don't know. But anyway, don't look in the mirror and look stupid like I did, thinking people were my good friends, because they weren't. In the end, I guess they were only out for that dollar bill. A lot of people only want to make friends with me in Oklahoma because of my wealthy Southern family on my daddy's side, and my daddy's Southern, and famous people on his side. And so people tended to want to be my friend over those things instead of just for me. So find real people that are your real friends that really like you for you, and it's not because you drive a Cadillac or a Mercedes or a cowboy Cadillac or a scooter, whatever it is that you have, or if you have a big beautiful home or a shack, if you have 10 tons of jewelry or none, try to get people to like you for you, not for who you're related to and not for what you have. Get people that like you for you. Otherwise, being alone is so much better. I don't care if you're in love with them or just friends with them. Be selective with who your friends are. I hope you guys have a great day. I love you. Talk to you later.